Ugh, Robert, I can't get my pants on. You did this to me.
My mom screamed at my dad.
Belinda, honey, you're exaggerating. You gave birth 5 years ago. It's not my fault you're still fat.
How dare you talk to me like that? You're sleeping on the couch for the week.
Great, you take up too much space on the bed anyway. Come on, Kera. You can sleep in the living room too and we can make pillow forts. It's gonna be so much fun.
My dad laughed and smiled at me. Before I continue to tell you about my very strange life, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell in the next 5 seconds for 1 week of good luck. It really works. Since I was a little girl, it was a really hard task living with my mom. In fact, it was sort of like a punishment. I always wondered why I couldn't have a loving, ordinary mom who wasn't so obsessed with how she looked all the time. My mom was actually pretty normal in size, but she felt like her body never went back to normal after she had me. After that horrible experience, she said she would never have another child again. One had done enough damage to her body. As I grew up, I began to realize that not only was my mom ashamed of her body, she was also jealous of mine. It made no sense, because I was only about 6 years old. Whenever we'd go shopping for new clothes and I'd try them on in the changing room, she'd look like she wanted to cry.
Wow, that swimsuit looks so good on you. Enjoy it while it lasts. I don't look good in swimsuits anymore.
I'm sure you do, Mommy.
Be quiet.
She'd shout, and everyone would look at her like she was completely nuts. When I tried on dresses, pants, shirts, or shoes, she looked like something heavy just dropped on her head and ruined her life forever. Sometimes when we went out, like to her friends' parties, she'd make me wear the most hideous outfits, hoping that she'd get more compliments than me. She never did, though. Everyone thought I was so cute. They'd pull my cheeks, smile at me, and sometimes even give me gifts.
I don't know why you keep dressing her in these ugly clothes. I think I should take over.
My dad said one night. Well, you guessed it. He was on the couch for another week. As time went by, my mom's obsession with her body transferred to me. I started to feel body conscious and I was convinced that I had to be skinny. I didn't enjoy kids' parties and other things that kids usually did because I skipped the ice cream, cotton candy, and hot dogs. I think I was about 10 years old when I realized that my life was sad. My mom was so mean to me, and my dad, although he was very nice to me, did nothing to defend me. It's like he was scared of her or something. Then one night I heard my mom say something to him, which terrified me.
Soon Kera is going to go through puberty, and that's gonna be great for me.
Why?
Acne, skin problems, she'll look awful, and I'll finally be the prettier one. I'll get all the compliments. She'll gain weight too, and I'll make sure I bring home some fast food at least 4 nights a week.
That's really immature, Belinda. No mother should be competing with her daughter like that. If anything, you should be helping and supporting her. She didn't choose to be born beautiful.
After that comment, she screamed at him and he was on the couch again. I was scared because I'd never thought that puberty would ruin my flawless skin. I started doing some research and realized that if I had a clean diet and drank lots of water, my skin would glow. Often, teenagers broke out because they ate too much junk food. I'll never, ever eat junk food, I thought to myself. My mom started pretending she was giving me gifts when she'd come home on evenings with piles of fast food.
Look, Kera, all this yummy stuff. These French fries smell so good,
she'd say. They definitely smelled good, and often I was tempted to eat them all, but I'd always say that I'd already eaten. After she left the room, I threw all the junk food into the trash and ate salad and fruits. I also learned how to have a good skincare routine before I became a teenager. I used natural oils and refused to use any makeup or chemicals. By the time I was 15, I was a goddess. My skin was glowing and I had no pimples or acne. I'd also maintained a pretty healthy looking figure, and my mom hadn't figured out my very simple secret, that I just ate clean, exercised, and took care of my skin. I think her jealousy increased when I started to look like an adult. I was growing after all. She started to be extremely mean to me in many different ways. One summer, we decided to take a camping trip. My mom, dad, and I all had different tents, and we set them up at a really nice camping site. I remember the beautiful sounds of nature there, and how I felt so at peace for the first few days. Then one night, while I was having a beautiful dream about swimming in a stream, I felt someone grab my leg through my tent and drag me outside. Someone else threw a bag over my head and I was carried off somewhere. When they removed the bag from my head, I looked around. I was in a little cabin and there were 2 men dressed in black. They told me that I was kidnapped and my family would have to pay a huge ransom if they wanted me back. I was horrified and I was kept in that room for 2 days. Then one day, I heard some footsteps outside and I heard my mom's voice.
I think that's enough time. Thanks, guys. You can let her go now.
I couldn't believe it. My mom had planned my entire kidnapping just to freak me out. When they finally released me and took me back to my parents, I was furious, especially with my dad. You're a terrible father. How could you let her do this to me? You're even worse than her for allowing this.
I didn't know, darling. She told me you'd met a friend and that you all had gone to stay at another camping site. Then I heard her speaking on the phone and realized that she'd lied to me. I'm the one who demanded that she ask them to release you.
Why didn't you call the police and have her arrested? You're a pathetic dad. You just let this crazy woman do whatever she wants. That night, we packed up and went home. My mom looked satisfied with herself. I felt like going to the police that evening, but my dad convinced me that my mom probably had a mental problem and that we should not be too hard on her. I could have tried to forgive her, but do you know what she did to me next? I came home from school one afternoon and I couldn't find my dogs anywhere. I forgot to mention that I'm a huge pet lover, and when I was 7, my dad got me 2 beautiful golden retrievers. They used to follow me everywhere, and I talked to them when I had no one to talk to. Mom, where are the dogs? I asked.
I sent them to the pound. They're annoying. They bark too much.
You what?
I didn't think it would be an issue. Besides, you're too beautiful to care about animals.
She replied mockingly. I got on my bicycle and I sped to the dog pound, but by the time I got there, my dogs had already been given to their new owners. They refused to give me any information about them, so I had lost them forever. I was totally devastated and went home crying. My dad noticed how sad I was and went out and got me a kitten. But if you know what it's like to lose a pet, you know that you simply can't replace it. I tried to distract myself by doing other things. I started dating a wonderful guy named Marlon, and we did lots of fun things together. I was able to persuade him to start eating healthier too, and we even joined a gym. So we were like fitness buddies and avoided the unhealthy things that teenagers usually did, like drinking alcohol and eating huge amounts of junk food. One day, he suggested that I start a YouTube channel to share my beauty secrets. I took his advice because it would be another way to get my mind off my horrible mother. So I shared my secrets, that the key to having a healthy body and beautiful skin is simply to eat right, be active, and use natural products on your face. I was finally having a happy life until my mom found out about Marlon and decided to try to ruin that too. She asked me to invite him home for dinner so that she could meet him. I glanced at my dad to see if he thought it was a good idea, and he nodded. He assured me that he'd try to make sure she behaved normally. So I invited him, and of course, it was one of the weirdest nights of my life.
So, Marlon, are you only my daughter's boyfriend because she's pretty?
My mom asked.
No, ma'am. She also has a wonderful personality.
He replied and winked at me.
Her? Are we talking about the same person?
Definitely.
Do you know that sometimes she doesn't flush the toilet? Oh my gosh, she smells really bad sometimes. You should smell her feet after she's been out all day. My daughter is gross. And clearly, you have no standards.
Mom! I was so embarrassed. I got up from the table and ran up to my room. Later, my dad came up and tried to comfort me. You told me she'd be normal, I cried.
I'm sorry, dear. I didn't know she'd say these things. I spoke to her before, yet she still did that. I'm so sorry. Anyway, don't worry. I drove Marlon home, and I'm not talking to your mom for the rest of the night.
The next day, I was embarrassed around Marlon, but he acted like nothing had happened. He was the best. We had a lovely day, and I even compromised my healthy eating standards and had ice cream, but I had no idea what was in store for me next. When I got home, there was nothing but junk food. On the table, in the fridge, everywhere. Mom, where is all the healthy stuff? I said.
I found out about your little YouTube channel and your so-called secret. You thought you could outsmart me and become more beautiful? Well, you're not allowed to eat any of that healthy stuff anymore. From now on, all we'll have in this house is junk food. Well, I'm going to follow your tips and eat healthy at restaurants, but you'll have to settle for what we have in here.
Dad, are you seriously letting her get away with this? I screamed. He just nodded his head and looked at the floor. At that point, I'd had enough of both of them. I went to my room, packed a bag, and walked out of the door. I went to Marlon's house and asked him to hide me in his room. I stayed there for 2 days, then he got scared his parents would be accused of kidnapping, even though they didn't know I was there. He asked me to go somewhere else, but I had nowhere else to go. He gave me some money and I took a train to another city. I walked around, slept on the streets, and had an awful life until I couldn't take it anymore. I decided to return home to see if anything had changed. As soon as I got off the train in my hometown, there was a big crowd and a camera shining in my face. Then a news reporter shoved a microphone in front of my mouth.
Are you aware that you've been all over the news for the past few days?
The reporter said. No, my parents bothered to look for me?
Well, your father did. He's right here.
At that moment, I saw my father pushing through the crowd.
Darling, I thought I'd lost you forever. I'm so sorry for what happened. You've been the perfect daughter, and I'm sorry I gave you such a horrible mother. We're getting a divorce, and I'll file for full custody of you. We will never have to be near her again.
Really, Dad?
Yes.
What made you come to your senses?
If I had to choose between the two of you, I choose you. You're my baby girl. I made you. And my wife, well, I think she belongs in an asylum, and hopefully the court will send her there.
I jumped into my father's arms and hugged him very tightly. From that day on, we have been inseparable. I haven't seen my mother in a long time, and my life has improved. She taught me what I should never be like, and when I have daughters someday, I will make sure I treat them like princesses.